Welcome to another episode of the Trendin podcast. I'm your host, Chukwujekwu. Super excited to be here today to share another important trending topic, women's rights. A very important one. Let me get a chair. Thank you. This is a very important topic for me, given how I grew up. I'm a son of an immigrant here in the United States. I grew up with a single mom who worked 3 jobs to put food on the table for me and my sisters. I grew up in Lagos, Nigeria. Moved to the United States when I was 18 years old. Far too often, we hear everyone talk about women's rights. If you remember very well, the main reason for this podcast is to share viewpoints on all trending topics in politics, education, sports, entertainment, fashion, travel, and tech. And women's rights is another trending topic that we can discuss. I'm going to share a monologue today, and a subsequent part 2 of this episode will have a guest with me who share her viewpoint on what she thinks about women's rights, where it's headed, where it's coming from, and where we are. As I mentioned in the beginning, this is a very important topic for me, given my upbringing, how I grew up, what I saw my mother endure. And far too often, folks talk about how women's right is not a topic or not an issue. It's important to understand that a lot of people who are against women's right will not come out and say, I'm against women's right. They will do things to not progress women's right. I said it before, this podcast is not to pick sides. This podcast is here to educate, to share factual viewpoints on some of the trends that we're seeing and allow our audience to draw their own conclusion. So it's very important I say that. Perhaps things I might say today might come out controversial. I ask you to listen, do your research before jumping to your conclusion. In the beginning of time, it has been established that women are the vessel of life. I say that from a biblical standpoint. Scientifically, things have been different today. And I support however method we bring life to earth. With that said, women's right is consistently being eroded into the society. When I grew up in Nigeria, women had no rights. And I think we made a lot of progress in Nigeria, tons of progress here in the United States, but a lot of work still needs to be done. For example, growing up in Nigeria, I hear men say a woman's place is in the kitchen. I disagree, respectfully. I disagree because most of the women that I grew up with, my mom, my sisters, they've gone on to do great things. Specifically, Me being in the States now, I'm surrounded by women who are consistently breaking barriers, shattering glasses, shooting for the stars and the moon, and accomplishing great things. So it's important that we take a step back and give credit where it's due. So I'm going to do a share for that. We know that women play a very important role in our world. You look around the entire world, we have more male presidents, head of states, or male in higher hierarchy in our society than we do women. And you have to start wondering, how did we get here? It's important to go back to the beginning of time. Women actually had more right way back in the day. And when I'm talking about back in the day, think about 1500s, where women in higher grounds in the society achieving great things. But as we move forward, that right, the ability to achieve far greater things that one can ever imagine, has slowly been taken away from women. You have to wonder, how did we get there? In my viewpoint, I think a lot of this has to do with how we see women. Because in order for you to understand a phenomenon, you have to understand the foundation and the root cause of that phenomenon. There's a lot of people out there, they might disagree with my viewpoints today and say, perhaps I'm in over my head. Maybe I am. Maybe I'm not. That's for you to judge. That's for you to draw your conclusion by doing your research. Let's take, for example, what happened several weeks ago, where women's right in the United States was eroded when it comes to abortion. I know this is a very sensitive topic, so I am not going to sit here and pretend to be an expert in this conversation. I'm simply sharing my viewpoint based on how I grew up, what I've seen, and what I've heard. Some of you might say, look, go to other countries, women have no rights. So women in the United States should be thankful for what they have. I've heard that terminology all the time. I've heard that line of sentence all the time. I've heard it. I've heard people say, hey, you know what? Go to this country, go to Africa, go to Asia, go here, go there. Hey, they don't even have any rights. So you should be lucky you have some kind of rights in this country. How dare you? How dare you decide how somebody else lives? How dare you decide what's enough and what's not enough for somebody else? Who are you and me to say what somebody should have or shouldn't have? After all, we're all humans. We all have eyes. We have nose, mouth. We have a heart. We all bleed red. So you tell me, what makes you and I qualify to decide who gets to do what, when, how, and where? Sometimes you look at this issue of women's right and you start to wonder, is this some sort of organized approach to destroying the progress we've made? Or is this an unconscious mistake that people who maybe in over their head are making. I'll pause for a second and I'll digress. In the US Constitution, abortion was not guaranteed. That's a fact that I agree with. With that being said, one thing was guaranteed in the United States Constitution is the ability to pursue happiness and liberty. Pursuit of happiness and liberty. That's a loaded terminology. What does that mean? Happiness can mean anything. What makes me happy may not make you happy. What makes you happy may not make me happy. So I cannot define what makes you happy. You can't define what makes me happy either. So if a woman decides to bring a child into this world, maybe that makes her happy. If she decides otherwise, maybe that makes her happy too. That's not for you and I to decide. It's for the individual to decide. So I ask you, what is happiness? What is the definition of happiness? It's how you define it, not what Webster says, not what the court says, not what your neighbor says. It's what you say. It's what you decide. It's what you get to exemplify. I am not going to say whether I'm for or against abortion. This show is not designed to do that. This show is designed to share viewpoints and factual viewpoints on these issues, on this matter. I think it's hard for somebody that's not in your shoes to understand what you are going through, or been through, or will go through. You have to be in this person's sit to see their viewpoint, to understand where they're coming from, to sympathize, to empathize with them. In Nigeria, there are men who have more than one wives. But rarely do you see a woman with more than one husband. You know why? Because morally, everybody is saying it's wrong. Why would a woman have more than one husband? Why? How dare you, right? But a man can have 3, 4, 5, 6, 10 wives. Why? After all, a woman and a man both have blood running through their veins. The last time I checked, a woman has a nose too and a mouth, eyes, ears, and a brain. So what really makes us different? Anatomy? Should that even be a debate? The point I'm trying to make here is that women's right is everybody's right. Women's right is human right. They're human before they're women. Let's look at it from that standpoint. You go to corporations around the world, majority of the people who are in power are men. You know, you see this different news. The first woman president, the first woman CEO. We in the 21st century. And we're still talking about women's rights. How sad. I have a daughter. I want my daughter to grow up in a world where women can do anything, anywhere, anytime. This is not a Republican versus Democrat issue. This is a humanity issue. This is not a conservative versus liberal issue. This is a humanity issue. This is the me versus you issue. This is a humanity issue. It's like this. When people say Black Lives Matter, they're not saying other lives doesn't matter. They're saying a group of people who have for so long been through hell, their lives count. That's all they're saying. They're not discrediting other lives. So when we say women right, we're not saying there's no men right or there's no animal right. We're just saying that this group of individuals for so long have had to withstand the onslaught of we men going after the little things they cherish that they have control over. And we're mad that we can't control that either. Who are we? We're not God. Remember what the Bible said. We are all equal in the eyes of God. Whatever your beliefs are, we are all equal in the eyes of God. That's what it is. Which means the day you were born, you have a right, a God-given right to be human first. A man or a woman second. Every time I go around, I talk to people all the time. I try to hear what people have to say about men, women, height differences, and all this other stuff. And when I listen, I try to listen very well because I'm one of those people that what your actions is how I judge you, not what you say. Because we're humans, we can change our minds. Your actions, though, says otherwise and dictate who you really are. This is me. I love public speaking. So your best bet, this is who I am. I want to share one very crucial, important note as I continue this conversation. I grew up around women. So perhaps you might call me biased. But I've drawn my strength from women. I am who I am today because of women. My mom giving me the opportunity to be who I am, to go out there and conquer. Her having to work 3 jobs to put food on the table, not giving up on us, saying to herself, I may not have money, I may not be rich, but one day my kids are going to be okay because she planted the seed. Same goes for all the women in the world. There's so many single moms out there who are raising their kids and doing the right thing every day to ensure their kids can live a good life. I was on a social media the other day, more of a work related social media, and I saw a comment about a man who committed a very huge atrocity. Another man was able to neutralize that man before he did more damage. And one of the commenter on the post said, I bet you the hero was raised by mom and a dad. I was sad. I was sad because far too often we associate being raised by a single mom with bad behavior. This is not true. Forget about any statistics you're looking at out there. Somebody put that statistic together. So of course, there's some bias behind it. You have to look at the facts. as they come. There are more men and women today that have gone on to do great things in life, and they were simply raised by a single mom. So being raised by a mom and dad doesn't make you more successful or less successful than someone that's been raised by a single mom. It doesn't. There is no direct correlation. It comes down to the individual. So don't let them lie to you. Follow the facts. Facts are facts. In my viewpoint, the Supreme Court justices voting to strike down Roe v. Wade is dangerous. It's dangerous because it takes the one thing that a woman has control over from her. After all, this is their lives. Who are you and I to decide that? I am not justifying abortion, and I'm not saying it's good either. I'm saying it comes down to the individual. It's a moral thing. It's not criminal. It's moral. That's the bottom line. It's moral. It comes down to you as a person. I'm a Christian, so I'm going to stick to my moral ground when it comes to that topic, which is abortion. I'm not going to tell you how I feel about it, or I'm not going to tell you what I think is bad or good. I'm going to follow what my Bible tells me. I'm going to follow what my teaching tells me. I'm going to follow what God tells me. But I'm not going to go around telling somebody what they should do with their body. I am not going to do that. I refuse to participate in that. It is not my place. It would never be, and it should never be. In the end, we can see and go back and forth, say what's right, what's wrong. One thing is for certain: the Constitution of the United States guarantees the life, the right to life, the right to liberty and pursuit of happiness for every living human being, period. How you interpret that, that's on you. But I'll tell you what I think about it. I think happiness means a lot of things. And if getting an abortion makes you happy, so be it. If not getting one makes you happy, so be it. It's your call, and only you can make that choice. Not me, not a judge, not the Constitution. Nobody can make that choice. Just you. It's a moral choice. That's what it comes down to, y'all. Like I said, this is a very controversial topic. Women's right, and it should never be in the first place, but it is. So, as you watch this video, as you listen to this podcast, I ask you to do your research before you jump to conclusion. More strong men have been raised to be great, to attain greatness, because they had a woman in their life, whether it's mom, whether it's their wife, whether it's their sisters. Those are the facts. There's something about nurturing, and God has given women that ability. It's natural for them. So if you are correlating a bad person with being raised by a single mom, you're wrong. You can be raised by both parents and still be the worst person on earth. It doesn't matter. It just comes down to individual choices, y'all. Part 2 of this episode, I'm going to have a guest on the show, and they'll share their viewpoint on this topic. But for now, I rest my case. Until next time, thank you for watching, The Trendin Podcast. Signing out. Peace.